hey, oh, hey.
1, 2, 3, 4, hey.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Every day.
Every day.
Gotta run.
Gotta run.
Every day.
Every day.
Gotta run.
Gotta run.
Gotta be.
Gotta be.
Number one.
Number one.
Gotta be.
Gotta be.
Number one.
Number one.
Gotta be.
Gotta be.
Airborne.
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 Ranger.
Ranger.
Airborne.
Airborne.
Ranger.
Ranger.
Ah.
A Marine's preparation for combat will consist of more than just a life of physical endurance and courage. It will demand the ultimate trial of spirit. Membership in the Corps will be won by only a few, such as Captain Randy Smith.
Suppose every boy grows up watching John Wayne movies, and you see movies such as The Sands of Iwo Jima and Flying Leathernecks, and Hollywood's done a real good job portraying the Marines. They have a good reputation, and I like that. I like the image that the Marine Corps represented. When I was looking into the services, people said, you don't want to go to the Marine Corps. They have a 13-week boot camp. The other services are 8 weeks or 6 weeks. It's a lot easier. And personally, I wanted to choose a hard route. I wanted to challenge myself, and I'm really glad I did. It's a great service, in my opinion, the best service.
The Marine Corps offers its warriors many challenges. None, however, can compare with that of flying the AH-1 Cobra attack helicopter.
I'm a Cobra pilot, a Cobra attack helicopter pilot.
Flying the Cobra, Captain Mike Rocco's single mission is
to destroy the enemy. That's our sole purpose in life, is to support the grunts, to support the guy on the ground, and destroy the enemy.
For grunts on the ground, a team of Cobras hovering above means victory. First Lieutenant George Calkins describes flying in the Cobra as phenomenal.
Flying it's pretty much like riding a motorcycle in 3 dimensions. Get down really low is the safest place for us, but also the most exciting flying. You do get the feeling of speed. We don't go as fast as the fast movers, but you know, cruising along the desert pretty low. It was terrific. Best ride in the desert.
The Marine Expeditionary Airfield, or EAF, transforms an inhospitable wasteland into a high-tech mobile combat operations base. From the EAF, Cobra pilots strike hard. Their talent and skill in the air must be matched by an equally worthy weapon, such as the AH-1 Cobra.
The Cobra itself is the most maneuverable aircraft on the battlefield today. We've compared a lot to the Apache, and the Apache is a fine aircraft. Unfortunately, the Apache costs about twice as much as a Cobra, and the Marine Corps will give you more bang for the bucks. You know, we take very little of the military budget and provide a lot of the firepower, and the whiskey is a prime example of that.
The bang for the bucks is a thundering tribute to the specialized training of Cobra pilots.
The Cobra has 2 pilots, and they're fairly interchangeable, but I mean, as far as the talents each guy has, but the requirements, depending which seat, are very different. Usually you'll set it up that the guy in the back seat will be controlling the flight and how it's going and actually controlling the aircraft, whereas the guy in the front seat will be doing most of the navigation, sort of keeping a lookout because he does have a better view in the front seat, but primarily he'll be handling the weapons. His big job is the tow missile, and he's got the best view through the telescopic sight unit. If you want to shoot the gun, you can be much more accurate with a 13-power scope to get the 20-millimeter rounds in, or the tow missile, or Hellfire, or the rockets we carry.
A dozen Cobras, Hueys, their pilots and support personnel comprise a Marine Light Attack Helicopter Squadron, or HMLA. Codename Scarface is HMLA 367.
Scarface, HMLA 367. It's been around since just after World War II. Had a distinguished history from dating back then when it was a VMO squadron, observation squadron. It was also a squadron that was active during the Vietnam War.
The maneuverability of the helicopter led to its development as a weapon-carrying platform, and to this end, early choppers in Vietnam were hastily fitted for combat. The Marines started flying Huey Cobras in 1969. They immediately saw their battle successes increase and losses decrease. Soon, no heliborne operation would choose to be without an AH-1G Huey Cobra as their escort. Cobras would typically escort troop-carrying Hueys and observation Kiowas into a landing zone. Once there, each would do its job to secure the area. The Viet Cong tried their best to avoid open confrontation with air mobile forces. The Hueys, Kiowas, and Cobras formed a perfect partnership. Working in tandem, they would pull off one successful operation after another. There was no crucial battle throughout South Vietnam in which air mobility did not play a part. After successfully securing the area, the Kiowas would spot the pickup zone for the victorious troops. The next battlefield the attack helicopter was to prove itself on was the Caribbean island of Grenada. Communist units from Cuba had overthrown the government and held U.S. citizens hostage. New Army UH-60 Black Hawk transports were to see action alongside updated Marine twin-engine Hueys. CH-46s carried heavy troop and cargo loads to the front. These sea-launched assaults provided a safe island landing for ground personnel. The Marines had developed their beloved Cobra into the AH-1W Super Cobra. To fulfill the Corps' many tasks, they equipped the Super Cobra with both anti-tank and anti-air weapons. The Super Cobra performed admirably in Grenada. Soviet-supplied BTR-60 armored personnel carriers were choice Super Cobra targets. Only minimum helicopter losses were suffered in the fight for the island's liberation.
The biggest asset is its engines. It has some great T700 power plants, provides plenty of power for the airframe.
Twin General Electric T700 turbine engines give the Cobra nearly unlimited combat versatility. These power plants allow pilots to hover below enemy radar, thus enabling them to select, arm up, and fire their choice of weapons from a concealed position. The Persian Gulf in 1988 was an international hotspot. Marine Cobras and their pilots, along with a multinational naval force, were tasked to defend all nations' right of free passage. The Iran-Iraq war had raged for years, and now Iran had threatened Iraq's ally, Kuwait, with the destruction of their oil tankers. Quickly reflagged, the tankers became targets for Iranian speedboat attacks.
Cap, we got a high-speed boat coming in on the starboard side. I just pass that information for all of you.
Iranian mine layers dumped countless anti-ship mines throughout the Gulf. These mines damaged several tankers and Navy ships. In retaliation, Marine Cobra pilots were given the order to attack and disable Iranian-held Siri and Sasan oil platforms. These rigs had been the base of operation for the Iranian speedboats.
Navy warship. You have 5 minutes to evacuate your platform. Any actions other than evacuation will result in immediate destruction.
The Iranians wanted to play hardball. They ignored the evacuation orders and fired on nearby U.S. warships. The Cobras went to work. Their pilots zeroed in on the oil platforms and fired their devastating tow missiles and 20mm cannon. Keeping the crosshairs in the target box, the pilots guided the tows to the most vulnerable parts of the oil platforms, ensuring maximum destruction.
Be aware that 5. Platform 3, the building is experiencing secondaries at this time. I'm on target. Warrior Gold, the Eagle, the ball game is yours. Nice shoot. You Bears 219, 14,900 yards. Bring him down, bring him down, bring him down. There you go. That's it. 447, can you mark them off that attack end? Check the other platforms. Shoot high on 7. Rake 7. Get that second 417. Looks like it has possible harpooners on board also. Good hit.
Following the Cobra attack on the oil platforms, CH-46 Sea Knights airlifted Marines to the crippled rigs. The grunts had a very clear objective: find Iranian survivors, if any, and evacuate them. Afterwards, the oil platforms were to be blown up. As the Marines fast roped into the burning inferno, Cobra pilots circled overhead, ready to lay down suppressive fire if necessary. The grunts set explosive charges, and the dangerous mopping up operation began. Iranian anti-aircraft artillery used against the Cobras lay abandoned on the platforms. Where further Iranian resistance was suspected, the Marines ended the dispute with hand grenades. During the 9-hour battle, the Iranians lost 2 oil platforms, a missile boat, 3 armed speedboats, and a frigate. A tragic price was paid by the Marines for their victory, however. 1 Cobra helicopter and its 2-man crew never returned home. A combined arms exercise, or CAX, as conducted at 29 Palms, California, coordinates various air and land combat elements to fight as a single Marine force. CAX will measure the skill and bravery of Cobra pilots under realistic wartime conditions.
417 in flight, holding short hotel for takeoff, LZ red.
Starbase 417 in flight, wind calm, cleared for takeoff.
Much clear for takeoff.
Outside controls. Roger, here. Controls.
Before it can attack enemy targets, the Cobra's deadly array of weapons must be fully armed. Arming takes place at a safe landing zone known as LZ Red, where safety devices are removed by specialized ordnance personnel. The reason for this procedure is very simple. The awesome firepower of the Cobra, if unleashed accidentally, would result in enormous damage and loss of life at the EAF. The remoteness of LZ Red forestalls any possibility of disaster.
Starbase 417 in flight, left turn off for LZ Red approved. Landing at LZ Red will be a pilot's on risk. Report lifting with intentions.
7 will go.
LZ Red is half a mile away from the Marine Expeditionary Airfield. The TOW and Hellfire missiles, along with the powerful 20mm cannon, must be armed. An LZ Red Team captain oversees all preparations for making the inboard and outboard weapons battle-ready. He instructs the Cobra pilots to keep their hands in the air and away from the weapons controls, while safety counter pins are removed from the missiles, rockets, and cannon. The hands-off throttle and stick, or HOTS directive, is strictly enforced as the skilled ground crew arms the attack helicopter. Thumbs up are given to Cobra 1, and the team captain gives the go signal. Until Cobra 2 is fully armed, the team captain keeps his hands on his head. This tells the pilots that arming is still taking place, and that the HOTS directive is still in force. Though the Cobra pilots are anxious to begin the hunt for enemy targets, they realize that arming is a dangerous procedure that must be completed with the utmost care. Stressing teamwork, the pilots from Cobra 1 have waited for Cobra 2. After thumbs up and salutes are given, the 2 Cobras lift off together, now both fully armed and ready for battle. The amazing view from the Cobra cockpits allows the pilot and co-pilot to see in all directions as they cruise at only 50 feet above the desert floor. Pilots maintain that the thrill of flying in the Cobra is more like wearing it than riding in it. Suspended between sky and ground in a body-hugging glass bubble, the sensation is described as nothing short of unearthly and even magical. But the intense level of training received by these pilots allows them to never be distracted from the deadly intent of their mission objectives, that of seeking out and destroying enemy targets.
1200, 2400, egress to the AP, then the holding area by the east side of Hidalgo. Good copy.
The Cobra pilots are in contact with a ground-based forward air controller, or FAC, who directs them to a holding area known as the attack position, or AP. Once the pilots have reached the AP, they communicate with the forward air controller for the exact target coordinates, and the co-pilot checks his 13-power TSU, or telescopic scope unit. The missiles are now armed and ready for attack.
Just to the north side of that gorge, there's that ridge.
Okay.
And it's at the end of that ridge. Copy.
Okay, he's going to shoot the tow here. Just kind of get off to the left here a little bit of him. Arm yourself, make sure you're selected.
Roger.
So you got the smoke off the nose? It's about there. 12:30, 11:30, 11:30, 11:30, 11:30.
Got it.
Okay, I got an attack flag. You got a box over there?
Roger, got the box with the picture.
Okay, here we go. Here we go.
One top right.
Need some nose up. Nose up. Little nose up. Little nose. There you go. A little longer. They're short. They're short. Okay. Need some nose up. Nose up. Little nose up. Need some nose up. Nose up. Little nose up. There you go. Double affirmative. That's a hit.
That's affirmative. It is a good hit. Actually, it was a pretty good explosion on it, looked like. I don't know if it was just the impact from the force.
I took it right through that black silhouette.
Yeah, roger that. It looked good from here.
Tell him, Doug, what do we have?
The tows found their targets. Cobra 1 veers off as Cobra 2 declares that it is armed up, on station, and looking for work. Tank crews and grunts anxiously wait for the Cobra pilots to destroy the worst of the bad guys. Once the Cobras have finished their job, the ground forces go in for mop-up. The forward air controller acquires new targets, and the Cobras turn the hell-blown desert into a dusty killing field.
Okay, one of the targets is dead. The one where the arty round just impacted, so go for one of the other two targets, over. Can I get you to stay below 100 feet? Roger.
Yeah, it looks like I get 5 rockets. Yep, they're all yours.
Roger, we're pushing. Got to.
Roger. Fire.
Arm yourself, make sure you're selected.
Cobras hugging the terrain at dangerously low altitudes, sometimes no more than 50 feet from the ground, risk damage from lethal enemy anti-aircraft fire. Focused on diving and attacking with toes in the cannon, the crews have little time for feelings such as fear.
Roger, we'll be in for immediate re-attack. So again, it'll be Bravo Lima. We got to hug the terrain here and make a right-hand turn.
The tow impacts have been devastating, as have the soft target attacks by the 20mm cannon. The Cobra pilots have performed flawlessly, and the Marine M60 tanks and armored personnel carriers press forward to complete their part in the CACs. The Cobra pilots note their kills and begin the journey back to the expeditionary airfield. Today's young pilots who fly the Cobra attack helicopters perfectly embody the legendary effectiveness and ferocity of Scarface HMLA 367. Mission accomplished, they reflect on their performance, realizing that one day all the practice and training they receive could be put to the ultimate test. Cobra pilots know that once they are in the heat of battle, it will be a kill or be killed scenario. Every second will count, and each decision they make will have to be perfect. Their trust in one another and their camaraderie will bond these pilots together forever. Do or die, Scarface HMLA 367 will be more than ready for the challenge of taking on any enemy, anywhere, anytime. In January 1991, the Marine Ground Forces and Cobra pilots positioned in northeastern Saudi Arabia endured an inhospitable environment, waiting for a chance to fight Saddam Hussein and his combat-hardened troops. As the Gulf crisis intensified, Operation Desert Storm was launched with a massive air war against Saddam's army throughout Iraq and occupied Kuwait.
We knew what our mission was. We'd been over there for 7 months waiting for it to happen, and then one day in the end of January it finally happened.
The first taste of combat was during the Battle of Khafji. So we went up there to support the troops on the ground, the international forces that were in and around Khafji and the Marine forces.
Located 2 miles south of the Saudi-Kuwaiti border, the abandoned city of Al-Khafji appeared to be easy prey to an Iraqi armored column. They were proven wrong.
Most of the action we had, we were actually engaging the enemy. It was up to the northwest of the city, where the Iraqis had taken a police post right on the Kuwaiti-Saudi border, and were running operations out of that. One guy, we call FAC, forward air controller, in a Humvee, who was driving along the desert, a good couple of miles well ahead of all the friendly troops. We were the only ones up there, and this poor guy's the only one on the ground, just in his Humvee, and he had 5 Cobras above him escorting. And moved up, got up towards the police post, saw a vehicle up there, and we'd been told anything in that area was enemy. Got up there and the vehicle started to move away. Somebody saw it, locked onto it with a tow, I think it was the -2, and took a tow shot, blew that up, must have been an ammunition truck. It went sky high. Once that went, you could see some of the other vehicles start moving, sort of behind, and they were armored personnel carriers and self-propelled artillery pieces. And from then on, it was a pretty good afternoon. The division worked really well together, and it was like listening to the radio. It was just a chatter and screaming, you know, hey, I got a target here, I got a target here, you're cleared hot, you're cleared hot. And we were picking them off.
That's how you shoot a blow ball, boys.
While the grunts ready themselves for a bloody street battle, the Cobra pilots continued to rain hell down on the Iraqi military machine. In one day, 28 Iraqi tanks, armored personnel carriers, and AAA artillery platforms were blown out of existence by Scarface HMLA 367. TOW and Hellfire missiles ripped into Iraqi positions without mercy. The images of this battle will be indelibly etched in the memories of the Cobra pilots who fought at Khafji.
I'll never forget some of the attacks in and around Khafji when we rolled in on some targets. We destroyed some armored personnel carriers, some BMPs. We destroyed an artillery battery, approximately 12 armored personnel carriers with self-propelled artillery.
100 meters. Spot zone. 240 degrees. Bingo. Nice shot. Nice shot.
shot the targets with TOW and Hellfire missiles, and watching these armored personnel carriers just envelop themselves in an orange ball of flame.
Your target heading 120. Bam. You got it. I got it. These is 3. Yeah, right behind the one.
As a team, Cobra ground crew and pilots work together to meet any challenge and overcome all obstacles.
Marines are a elite combat force, and life's not necessarily the easiest. We end up taking a lot of knocks and frequently doing things the hard way, but learn a lot, and haven't been sorry with my decision yet.
Tougher training makes tougher warriors. The drive to be the best is in the heart of every Cobra pilot.
Always like to be competing against someone else. I like to be aggressive, and in the Marine Corps, there's always ways to excel. There's always a way to demonstrate your knowledge, demonstrate your tactical expertise, demonstrate your flying ability.
To be a Marine Cobra pilot means more than just enjoying the thrill of flying.
I think it's the finest flying you can do in the Marine Corps, because you stay close to your ground brethren, and you're a pilot, and everyone who is a pilot enjoys to fly, enjoys the flying, and yet we still are close to our roots in the grunts. And our main purpose is support the guy on the ground, and that's the only reason why we're around here, is to support the Marine with the M16 on the ground.
Whether in the skies of Vietnam, over the Persian Gulf, or hovering above the Arab desert, Cobra pilots are part of the Marine Corps' proud tradition of victory.